So you started recording the album January of last year at Abbey Road.
Yeah.
It got to a certain point and then it all kind of went down the toilet, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was all planned out and everything was done. And we had a great session there in January and it was all ready to go. And I remember we were going back on, I think it was March the 28th, we were supposed to go back in. And then literally 2 days before, there was a whole national lockdown put on. So we were really down, depressed about it. And then, there was nothing we could do. And then I was thinking, how do we do this? But yeah, listen, in a funny way, it kind of presented opportunities as well, because, a great friend of mine, Lyndon Connor, you might have heard of, he's one of the main session players over here.
Right.
He suddenly he wasn't on tour, he was available. So he
there
was
you
able
go.
to work. Norman Beaker wasn't on tour, so he was able to help us. And so we had all these great people and great session players who'd normally be like traveling around the world, who suddenly said, "Oh, yeah, I'd love to be part of this." So that's what happened. So in a funny kind of way, it all worked out. But,
it all worked out. That's cool.
I'm not going to make light of it. It was very difficult. It was very stressful.
Was it?
But at the same time, there was something magical happening with it. It just all clicked into place. And it was like when we were doing it, I was thinking, wow, there's just something happening with this. You don't always get that feeling sometimes. So
right. Because you'd recorded your previous album at Abbey Road as well, so you're kind of familiar with the digs, so to speak.
Yeah, the first time we went in there, we were completely overwhelmed. I mean, it was just like, we're all massive Beatles and Pink Floyd fans. So I mean, actually going into Studio 2 was just, and recording in there it was a lifelong ambition. And but yeah, the first album we did pretty much live. We did a few overdubs, but we did that in 4 or 5 sessions. But this was a big production number. This one, this was a lot more ambitious. This new album. I mean, going back to Abbey Road's great, but it wasn't as daunting, should we say, the second time round as it was the first time.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, you
like going home.
That's nice. So you'd say that this album is a little more. How would you say this one compares to the previous one?
Well, the previous one was more a live album, and also we in that stage of the Planets, they were like we were like 4 lead singers. And we thought that was quite a cool idea because a lot of people haven't done that for a long time. And I always like to use the Beatles as role model, and that, you had John, Paul and George singing. And we thought, well, that would be quite cool to do that as well.
Yep.
So we did that on the first album, and it was, it was great. I mean, one of the tracks, my favorite track I've ever done, by the way, is on the album. It's we recorded it live in one take in Studio 2. And for me, it's one of the great moments of my musical career. And but one of the criticisms of the album when it came out was, they've got too many singers and which direction they're going in. It's all, it's a bit like the White Album or something, if I can use that analogy. Right. So for this one, we thought, okay, we just better use my vocals this time. And we're not just going to do a live performance this time. We're going to do some of it live, but a lot of it's going to be production layered and everything else. Right. So the first couple of days we were recording, it was pretty much, recording drums, the Steinway piano, the Hammond organ, the gospel choir. We got a lot of that stuff live down, but then obviously it all got scuppered halfway through, so then it was a case of a lot of production. But it gave us a lot of time to think about it carefully and think, okay, is this working? What could we do with this? And we just had all these great ideas coming along with so many really good people involved in it, so that was really good.
Right. Cool. So it leads off with a track called Crossroads.
Yeah.
And is there a piccolo trumpety back there in somewhere?
Yeah, man, there's a piccolo trumpet. There's a lot going on in that track. It starts off with the piano, and then it builds up with the gospel choir. We've got piccolo trumpet, we've got brass, we've got the Hammond organ. There's quite a lot going in there. We've got Fender Rhodes. So yeah, that was a bit of an epic. We wanted to kind of open that track with a bit of an epic one. So hopefully we epicked it out a bit. So that was really nice to record that one. And of course we had Lyndon there for that day to help, and he helped co-write that song with me. So that was brilliant. That was just a very special moment doing that one.
Right.
The album kicks off with that, and we thought, well, and I was a bit nervous as to whether we should use that one first because it's quite a long track. But then we thought, look, it's epic. Let's just throw it in and see. And if people like it, great. If they don't, they don't. But so far, it's got some. Just had a couple more reviews the other day, and they love the way it opens. So listen, sounds.
There you go. That's cool. So I got to ask you, since it got kind of closed down with COVID, and what drove you to finish the record? Why didn't you guys just go, oh well, we'll just wait till this is over and then pick up where we left off?
Well, I think we were just going out of our minds, really, because I mean, it was just nothing. I mean, literally, England was just completely shut down, and I mean, there was just nothing to do. And I remember the month of April last year, I was starting to get a bit batty, and I was really depressed about not being able to finish it. And then I thought, well, look, let's just approach it from a different angle. You know, we're not all going to be able to go as a band to Abbey Road or wherever else.
Right.
So, and Abbey Road were very, very strict at the time. You know, the rules were very, very strict. So we started using another studio as well called Echo Studios in Buckinghamshire, which is a bit far away, but I know the engineer there. He's a very, very good guy. And so we started going there, and you know, I'd been listening to a lot of jazz the year previously, you know, the great jazz albums of 1958 to 1962, and I really started to get jazz, and I kind of wanted to do a sort of jazzy vibe on a couple of the tracks. So I'd been to see this jazz band in Oxfordshire not long before that, and I saw this great double bass player, and I contacted him and I said, look, I'd love you to come and play on a couple of these numbers. So he did that. So you know, it was nice to experiment with that side of it.
Right.
And another track, you know, I had this track called, well, the Blue Crystal track actually, and it was I kind of wanted it to be half like John Barry influence, you know, the sort of James Bond music.
Sure.
And the second half, my favorite track of all time is "I'm the Walrus" by the Beatles. I love that song.
Really?
I've always wanted to do a homage to that track. So the song Blue Crystal is a little bit like you know, it's a fusion of James Bond, John Barry with the Beatles, "I'm the Walrus," and it, you know, with our sort of thing.
Lonely nights are here again, broken hearted lives again, just trying to find out what it means.
And so I think what happened over that period of time was all the great influences we had, like from Led Zeppelin to Pink Floyd to the Beatles to all these great bands. We kind of wanted to throw a bit of that influence in there, just like the jazz I was saying about earlier.
Right.
And so we were able to focus a lot more on that, rather than if we're just going in, and because Abbey Road's expensive when you're in there for a day.
I can imagine it must be.
You know, we were saving a lot of cash to go in there to do that. But then we were able to, like, we had a little bit more time on our hands, and we were able to experiment a bit more. So, I mean, it's funny, you know, because we had, I used to get the piccolo trumpet for Crossroads, and we had this trumpet player, a really good session guy called Jamie Wall, and he was down there, and we've got this jazz song called All Things We Started. And Dave, our sax player, had done this great jazz, he'd done this brilliant jazz sax solo, and I thought, yeah, man, that's exactly what we want. And I don't know, when we were in there, I just thought, wow, I wonder what this would sound like with trumpet. So I asked Jamie, could you just try this on trumpet? And he did this trumpet solo, and it just literally blew me and Mark, the producer, away. I mean, we were just like, oh my God, this sounds amazing. And I was thinking, what the hell am I going to tell Dave now? But anyway, and then funny enough, I'd watched an episode of, because, you know, we were just watching Netflix all the time, of Homeland. Right. A couple of nights before, you know, Homeland, that series.
Sure.
And you know, the theme songs with that really cool trumpet on it. And on Blue Crystal, I thought, that could be interesting. So when we had all these great session players in there, we were kind of saying to them, look, can we try some of these new ideas? So, you know, in a way, it kind of opened up opportunities, having a bit more time in our hands like that. But I was determined to get it finished by Christmas. And at Abbey Road, there's a great engineer there called Chris Bolster, who's actually from New Zealand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he came to, I think he came to London in the mid-90s, and his dream was to work at Abbey Road, and his first job was at Abbey Road Studios. He's been there ever since. But he's worked with all the greats, Paul McCartney.
Right.
A lot. And he actually engineered our first album, and I really wanted him to mix our next one. So we got him involved there as well to do that. So we did that in December last year. Right. And then this year, I didn't know it was going to take so much time, but it's just been getting all the promotion together. It's a lot of hard work, I tell you.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hard work. So fingers crossed it's been worth it. But it has, of course it has, you know, it's great to come up with this.
So how has the band and the sound kind of changed with all this stuff happening over the past year and a half? And how have you guys kind of evolved?
It's kind of weird because, you know, as a live band, we're great. We go out and we play, and, you know, we're very well liked. We've been around for a long time, and it's good. Yep. But, you know, unfortunately last year, you know, George got COVID, so he couldn't be part of it. And, you know, a couple of the guys in the band, you know, because of the situation, just couldn't work on it. So that's why I had to get session people in. But I mean, it's still the same vibe, you know. I mean, we're all friends, but there's some great musicians there. So, you know, I just think this has been a more different approach though with this second album. I mean, we've got a track on there called "Checking Out the Vibe," which is. I
was just going to mention that. Yeah.
If you hear that, that's kind of what we sound like live. And I really wanted to have one of those tracks out there, which made us sound what we were doing. But we kind of wanted to do something a bit more serious on this album in terms of sort of production and, put out a few epics. The thing about these songs, Alex and I had written these songs a few years ago. They weren't, apart from Checking Out the Vibe, these were all written quite a while ago.
Right.
So they've been maturing over years. So we kind of wanted to get them done. So the band's still pretty much the same,
Yep.
It was just really nice to all work on this record and get it sounding as it has. It wasn't a quick job like the first album was. That this is, a lot more time and care has been taken on this one.
Right. So when you do get in front of an audience playing these songs, what do you think it's going to be like? Is it going to be different than it was previously for the band and for the audience?
A good question. I mean, there are a couple of tracks there, which, I mean, we won't be able to reproduce them live as they are. I mean, we've got one track, which has got like 20 vocal harmonies on it. It's just
Right.
But I mean, all the violins and all the orchestration on the other track. And it's all real music, by the way. There's no computers there at all. It's just all real instruments. So I think with any great, with any good bands, I mean, you just got to try and reproduce it as good as it will sound on stage. So I think essentially we'll be the same band, but I mean, it's there's a couple more mellow moments, like we'll have a bit more jazz influence maybe than we did before.
Right.
But I think it's positive, it's a nice progression from where we were. But for the people who want to see the original Planets as we've always been, I mean, you still got the vibe out, what is Check Out the Vibe kind of thing,
Right. Very good.
Yeah, I think they'll be happy with it.
Have you ever been to New Zealand?
No, but I'd love to come. Do you know, it's funny. I don't know whether you know this lady. Her name is Rima Tuiata, and her dad was a famous opera singer called Iwi Tuiata.
Okay.
And she was in the movie Hunt for the Widow People.
Right.
And she was born in London. And she and I went to school together. And she lived around the corner from me. And we were best buddies. I mean, we were about 6 and we were madly in love at the time and stuff. And then, her dad very sadly died in 1971. And I think we were 7 or 8 or something at the time. And then she went to New Zealand. And so we kind of kept in touch for a long time. And I've seen her career's just rocketed. I mean, she's become this famous actress in New Zealand. Right. I've lost contact. I don't know how to get in touch with her. So anyway, if anyone's listening, if she's listening to this, Rima, it's Alan, your old friend from around the corner. So there you go.
That's what we do here is just bring people together.
I've heard so much about it, and it looks the most beautiful country. And yeah, I'm dying to get out there.
Okay, very good.
The idea is maybe in 2 years we'll try and get out.
Cool. Very cool. Well, thanks for spending a bit of time talking to me about the record. Hopefully it does everything it needs to do.
Thank you so much for your time and listen.
My pleasure.
To talk to you.
Yeah, no, my pleasure indeed. Well, all righty. Have a great day and hope everything goes well.
Thanks so much. All the very best to you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.